Hello everyone, and welcome to the 2025 University Council Student Election Debate. The University Council is the participatory body of the university, composed of 10 elected students and 10 elected staff members. It has two main responsibilities. First, the right to consent to important decisions taken by the Executive Board, like the overall budget, major investments, and new projects. Second, the right to advise the Executive Board on various new policy developments, such as disability policy, digital strategy, and internationalization. They also have a right to information, meaning that the Executive Board has to answer the question they ask, and the right to initiatives, which allows them to bring issues from the community directly to the Executive Board. Voting for University Council candidates is your way to be involved in the legacy of the university and in politics today. The right council member makes all the difference, as they can influence our education, our campus life, and our overall welfare. Societal change starts with education, and change in education starts with you.
Hello everyone, and welcome to the University Council Student Representative Debate. My name is Celia Curven.
And my name is Jet Brinkman.
And we are both journalists from the Maastricht Diplomat, and we will be moderating you for you today.
Around this table you can see 4 different student representatives up for election or re-election. We can see Chiara, Robin, Bram, and Matthew.
Although UM is a bilingual university with courses taught entirely in English and in Dutch, for the purpose of everyone in the room understanding, this debate will be entirely conducted in English.
In a few seconds, all candidates will be presenting their different programs and how they plan to make this university better.
After that, we will discuss 3 topics: internalization policies, student associations, and the human right due diligence framework. Then we will open the floor for public to ask questions, and let's dive into it.
Okay, so Chiara, you have the floor. You have 1 minute to present your party.
Perfect. Hello, everyone. I'm really happy to be here. As already mentioned, my name is Chiara Ring. I'm from Austria, and I'm 19 years old. I do European studies here at FUSUS, and I'm the candidate from the CAN University, from the CAN Party, which is a climate active network, and we're committed to sustainability and social justice. And those are not only empty words at our party, but we really push things through all around the year. I'm deeply passionate about the social justice thing, and I'm here to make a difference and to make sure that all our students' voices are heard. I've actually played ice hockey since I'm a little kid, so I'm big on being a team and playing as a team. And as students of this university, we are all a team, and that's why you should vote me for the University Council so that your voices are heard. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chiara. Chiara, your party has a large emphasis on climate and sustainability. What are the main projects and policies that you plan to put forth if you do get elected into the University Council?
We worked on a thing we wanted to call the Maastricht student ticket, which would be for the R18. I don't know if you know it, guys, but it's like the train that transports people from Aachen to Maastricht and then from Maastricht to Liège, since there are so many international students and a lot of us need to take this way multiple times a year, and it's super expensive. So I know a lot of students here who actually have a car to go back and forth, since the prices of the gasoline to go back and forth is as expensive as the price of the ticket. And so this is something that really needs to be changed.
Thank you, Chiara.
Robin, you have 1 minute to present.
Hello, my name is Robin, and I am the new party. Germany, Italy, Spain, China, and the Netherlands, we are all countries, and that's very important. You cannot, it's are not just lines, but they are real. And that's why I care about them. And there are three things you need to consider. Firstly, nations are real, and there are different cultures and countries, and it's needed that the institutions do serve those countries and have an eye for them. And secondly, we need to protect Western languages because they are important. They are our culture and also our unity. So we need to protect them. And thirdly, in order to really build something, we have to have one vision. If you don't have a vision, then we are just serving the system that just want to make some money out of us. So a tree does need a root, and it's important for that root to be our nation and that we're
Although
together.
internationalization is one of your main points of your political party, you also emphasize testing and being allowed more food and toilet breaks. How do you plan on pushing that through in the UM?
Now, it's very important that the UM does care about our health, and I think it's ridiculous that they don't let us eat, for example. And I don't even know how it's possible that the current council members let this happen, because I would certainly be angry about it, and I am angry about it now, because it's just, why didn't they stop it?
Thank you very much, Robin. Bram, you are allowed to respond later on. Thank you. It's now your turn to present your party program. Go ahead. You have 1 minute.
Thank you so much, and thank you all for coming to this debate. It's nice to have a debate with an audience, and thank you everyone for organizing it. My name is Bram van den Bergmottel. I represent Lislex Modus. I'm currently in the council already, and I'm running again for next year. Right now I study health sciences, and before I did law. We as Lislex, we have a couple of things we are really passionate about. First of all, that representation goes well. And we think that students should be involved more in big decisions. We have plans like having a student assessor there, but we want that the voice of students is actually heard within the council and within all the big decisions. Personally, right now, I focus more on the operational side, the hospital, and I'm in the Student Wellbeing Advisory Board, as well as going to be on the catering committee. So I try to do as much as I can within the council already, and these are things we as a party want to keep doing and keep working on to help you.
Thank you, Bram.
Yes.
One of the main emphasis in your party program is transparency and listening to the opinion of students. How have you implemented this so far since you've been on the council, and how do you plan on continuing to do so?
Yes. Well, did you know that your tutor can see everything you do on Canvas? Meaning how much you log in, what you click on, how much time you spend on there. And I've heard stories from professors that they actually use this to decide if you pass your grade, yes or no. If you get a participatory grade, yes or no. This is something we brought to attention in the council, and we keep doing this because we think as a party that students should know that this log data of them is kept and that there's something to be done with it. So we believe, and we keep working, there are clear guidelines, and every student knows that this data of them is being kept and also being used, because it's unfair.
Thank you, Bram.
Mathieu, you have 1 minute.
Hi everyone, I'm Mathieu. I'm currently the Vice Chair of the FSC Faculty Council, and I'm number 3 on the University Council list for Novum. I've been a UM community connector since day one, whether I'm supporting policymaking in the council chamber or guiding sunrise hikes, classical music concerts, and late night philosophy debates for those who were there yesterday. My mission is always the same, to pull everyone into the circle, especially the voices that are outside my bubble. And so I have several things that I'm excited about. The main ones are making this campus a vibrant space. Also making sure that our wonderful education is high quality no matter which faculty or program you're studying at. I also want to make Maastricht united in its diversity, whether you be Dutch, Limburgish, non-EU or EU students. I think there's a diverse richness that we can make the most of. And lastly, well-being and justice, and I'm out of time, so I'll elaborate on that later.
Thank you, Mathieu. So your party emphasizes on social safety and student well-being. What have you done so far, and what do you plan on keep on doing?
So we worked really hard last year. So I only joined Novum a few months ago, so I wasn't necessarily instrumental in like long-term policy. However, we did play a key role in making sure that the social safety team had adequate funding, and that was much more of a fight than it ever should have been.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much, all candidates, for presenting your party program. After those introductions, we will now dive into the first content topic, and this concerns internationalization. We'll first watch a small video which explains exactly what this topic is about and what you should know to understand the debate that's going to follow. And after the video, we'll ask the candidates several questions about internationalization and how they plan to deal with it if they are elected to the council. Following the end of the questions, we'll open the floor to the candidates to have a discussion about this topic. So let's first watch this lovely video that we made for all of you.
The new Dutch government has introduced different laws and budget cuts targeting the education sector. Although the exact effects of these laws remain unclear for now, has had to adapt its policies in preparation for the implementation of the Internationalization in Balance Act, and the consequences are starting to be seen. For now, the main consequences which will affect are the language policy, which will require at least one track per field of study to be taught in Dutch, and every course which is taught in English to be justified, and the admission of international students. Already, admission for next year has dwindled, and the university has lost 13% of its student intake, leading to a loss of UM's international character. has recently developed plans to take action against these measures and safeguard its international disposition. However, since will still undeniably feel the effects of the Internationalization in Balance Act and budget cuts, the student body needs to know what their representatives plan to do to mitigate these effects. Let's dive into it.
Okay, so after having watched that video, we'll now ask the first question to the candidates. How does your party propose should move forward in light of these new regulations to protect both its international as well as its Dutch character? And also taking into account the latest measures the university took, which says they will have specific regional measures instead of this blanket solution that the Dutch government proposes. You each have 1 minute to answer to this question. Robin, you have the first turn, so go ahead.
Now, I believe that there needs to be a balance between the Dutch and English courses. For example, in healthcare, we do need people who can help people here in the Netherlands. And what we see now is, for example, psychology, that it's completely in English and not in Dutch. And also some other courses like arts and culture, and I think that it's better that those things also there are in Dutch. And for example, the does have a plan for a new campus in Heerlen, and it's a very big chance that it will be completely in Dutch. And I don't think that's the right way to have education, because we, like I said, we are in a country and we need to think about what we do need. So there needs to be a balance between Dutch and English courses.
Thank you very much, Robin. Now, Bram, if you will, you can present your answer to this question.
Yes, thank you very much. I'm proud of our university and our rich environment of international talent. And it's something, as a university in Limburg, that's something we actually do and do really well. I'm aware of the political environment, but still I've defended our international focus together with Andrew from Novum in talks with Member of Parliament Jan Paternotte. What I believe, what we are doing really well is that our executive board is advocating for the role of Maastricht and the international character we have. So what I think right now, because it's so going up and down what the law is, and there's many uncertainties, I think we should wait, still keep our international character, but it's something we're good at, but at the same time make moves to integrate people and to keep this international talent that we already have.
Thank you very much, Bram. Just one thing that was discussed before. In arts and cultures, it is possible for certain students to follow Dutch courses and do exams in Dutch if they choose to do so. Just to get back to what was said before. Thank you very much, Bram, for presenting your point. Mathieu, you now have 1 minute to present your answer to the question.
I think this conversation is dominated, like a lot of topics, unfortunately, with tons of false binaries. And I think can definitely do tons of effort in communicating really what the stakes are in this internationalization debate. I see this internationalization debate as holding four main stakeholders. You've got Limburg as a region and Limburg as a culture. Second, you've got Maastricht University, the institution, the faculty. And then you have the Netherlands, the society, its culture, and its taxpayers who are funding a lot of what we have here. And lastly, you have the students, and not only the students who attend here, but also people who can come from all around the world in order to study here. And as we can see, we're in a context where internationally a lot of academic freedom is being restricted. And so Maastricht University, as an academically free institution, has a duty to attract people and give them a nice place to really think critically.
Thank you very much, Mathieu. We'll now move on to the final candidate to present her point. Chiara, you have 1 minute.
So for me, I love the international field we have in Maastricht, and it's diverse, and we get so much out of it, especially if we talk about international studies like I do with European studies. We flourish from that. We flourish from the information that all those international students bring to Maastricht. And as we all know, Limburg has a really unique position with Germany, Belgium directly at the border, and Luxembourg super close. This is also where the UC Council already did a lot to lobby those things, as my former candidate and the guys who chaired the strategy committee for the last 7 years from Caen. So even though those times are tough for international students in the Netherlands, we need to start lobbying more so that those measures don't affect us that much. As we've seen in the video, 13% of decline of applications is a lot.
Thank you very much, Chiara. We'll now open the floor to all the candidates to respond to one another. As we have seen no questions so far, I am assuming there might be none, but I'm giving you some space if you do have questions. Otherwise, we'll move on to our questions. Go ahead, Bram, you have the floor.
Yes, thank you very much. I want to ask a question to Robin, because this is something that's very prominent in what you want to do. And you say there's problems with psychology in English, arts and culture, but to immediately change them to Dutch would be detrimental for the university. Then we have to fire people that are English staff. And also our psychology is different than the psychology in many different universities, because this is much more also brain science and neuroscience, and there it's really nice to be in English. So what would your actual plans as a student in the council be to push your very Dutch election program?
Now, I would at least say we are in the Netherlands, and maybe you don't like it, maybe you like it, but that means that if you, for example, want to have new courses, you need to think about the impact in Holland. And for example, the housing crisis. Look, I understand that UN doesn't need money, and then they just grow and grow. And some of you even propose that they need to be growing, but that is not good for our country. And when I look around, I think we have to make sure that we look what we need. For example, the people, and we need people in Holland. So that's why I think that's something to point out. And they can definitely do that. Why don't you want to do that?
You're free to answer.
Yeah, so if I may react, you want to say that we're in the Netherlands, and for new programs, think if they're in Dutch, yes or no. I think that won't do what you want it to be done. Saying growing or not growing, that's a debate we can have. But what I believe, it's important to have these international people, because a lot of Dutch people don't go to Limburg that are not from this area. So if we can attract talent from other sides and keep them here, we should focus on that. How can we keep people in the Netherlands that want to come here in the first place? And how can we make sure that this area grows, not by kicking out all the internationals, but by keeping them and embracing them and making Limburg a flourishing area?
Thank you, Bram. Chiara, you have the floor.
Thank you. Also, we need people in Holland, as you said. For example, Limburg is Maastricht is a shrinking city, and it's getting older and older. A lot of international students bring the capability to make it younger. Also, international students outside of the EU, which pay the whole tuition fee, tend to stay in Maastricht, which is great for those things. I see that there is a lot of potential for us to get more integrated as international students and have more of a connection with Dutch traditions and with Dutch in general. But this is nothing where I think that international students should in general be cut back. Also, Maastricht University is super unique with the PBL, so why wouldn't we let other people also experience this unique way of studying?
To continue on this topic, we have a question from Mathieu. In line with the new legislative framework, UM should also step up to integrate more Dutch language and teach its international students Dutch to better integration. What is your stance on this? Should UM make Dutch courses mandatory? Should it leave it more open to the students? The floor is yours. Yes.
I had a Dutch statement, so I'm just going to answer with my Dutch statement. Ik ben Mathieu, uw bruggenbouwer aan de UM. Ik geloof dat onze internationale en Nederlandse gemeenschappen veel beter kunnen verbinden voor wederzijds profijt. Ik zal kansen creëren, zodat iedere student zich onderdompelt in de Nederlandse en Limburgse cultuur via uitwisselingen, samenwerkingen en tradities. Ik doe wat ik predik. Ik leer zelf Nederlands. Laten wij samen echte verbindingen smeden. I think we shouldn't make it mandatory, but we should make it attractive.
Okay, just for everyone who does not speak Dutch in this room, I'm going to quickly translate, and just a reminder to everyone that we will try to keep everything in English. Mathieu was saying that he wants to build bridges, he wants to make Dutch more attractive to international students, but not force it upon them. Any other candidates want to respond to this? Chiara, and then Robin afterwards.
I already really like the Social Dutch program, which we have, which I also attended. I do think that there's a lot of potential to have more Dutch, especially because there are only 2 Social Dutch courses for free. And then it gets super, super expensive, and especially for international students, not everyone has the capability to purchase those. Also, as you know, the staff needs to have B2 at Dutch in our university at a certain extent, and it's also so expensive for them. Critique already has some connections with the head of the language center, Elia. So there's a lot that has to be done, and I'm ready to step in and help us international students to get better in Dutch and with the Dutch tradition at all, in general.
Thank you, Chiara. Robin, the floor is yours.
I want to say that I appreciate Mathieu speaking Dutch, because I think that's exactly how we can connect. So that's very great. But saying that that people can just choose whether or not they do it, I don't think that's enough. But now, 9 out of 10 international students do leave the Netherlands within 5 years after graduation. 9 out of 10. You can look it up. 31 March, there's research about it. That's a fact. And that shows me that we really have to do something. So that's why I think that every English course needs to have a Dutch language course in itself, because that will solve the problem. And that will only really unite us.
Any other questions or comments regarding what Robin just said? Bram, go ahead.
Yes, I also think that having Dutch courses more accessible, that's a very nice thing, because there is a great willingness to take this social Dutch course, which is already there. But after that, it does get expensive, and it is quite a big step, and this is not something we should have. If we want to be accessible for all the international students to learn Dutch and to integrate more within this region, what we should do is have the region come to the university, but also as a university, reach out to the international students and make these Dutch courses more available. Because then, if you do both, then you get to see the nice things we have in the region, but you also get that the international students get the opportunity to actually learn and to actually integrate. So I think you need to do both, and then you get the best.
Perfect, thank you. If no one cares to respond, Robin, go ahead.
I don't think that's enough. We have to I think that everyone here should, at least when they really want to integrate, like we say, it's very important. And Dutch is the key to really be part and build something. So I think that it should be standard and not just something that you can do. Because when you say that, you don't really value the importance of the language, I feel.
Chiara first, and then we go.
Okay, so we don't say anything. I do see the opportunity with the language, and I think that it's important for us international students to have the opportunity, and I think that we should take it, and it needs to be more popular. But I doubt it that the university stays that high in the rankings, especially international rankings, if all our stuff is taught only in Dutch and in English, or only in Dutch. This will be a big step back from a so international university as Maastricht is, especially at programs like, for example, mine, European Studies. It is super important for us to have all this knowledge in English, as a lot of us tend to go to the EU later and or to other international NGOs where we are working with those people then. Also, European law flourishes from the fact that it is in English.
Thank you very much, Chiara. Mathieu, you wanted to respond? Okay, Bram, you have the floor.
I don't think making every course have mandatory Dutch courses, that's not something I think is beneficial, but I believe as a university council we get to opinionate on a lot of stuff. But one thing that's important is that all the faculties have academic freedom and that they can choose which programs they give. If we say, well, everyone should give Dutch from now, I believe then you're really trying to demolish the academic freedom. And that's something which is really important to give the best quality of education. And the best quality of education is more important to me. Also, if you make it mandatory, people won't be as excited and as motivated to learn Dutch than if you make it really accessible. So let's make it accessible, but not mandatory.
Thank you very much. And with that, we're final response, and then we're getting to the end of this topic. Robin, go ahead.
Let me just say we are in the Netherlands, and it's key to integrate because now only 1 out of 10 stays here. And to me, that's serious and not just some joke. And I think that it's very accessible.
Robin,
when it's standard, not less accessible. So I don't understand it.
Get the facts straight in this debate. Around a quarter of foreign students who completed a university or college degree in the Netherlands do actually stay in the Netherlands after graduating, according to NUFIC, which is the Dutch International Education checkpoint, basically. In total, 25.3% of students remained in the country, and that's an increase of 1.2 percentage points compared with the previous study. So it's actually increasing the amount of international students who are staying. With that, we're also coming to the end of this topic. Thank you all for presenting your different views. And we'll now move on to the next topic, which is the Human Rights Due Diligence Framework. It's also known as the HRDD framework, and I'll give now the floor to Celia, who will introduce it to you all.
Great, we will now watch a little short video, and then we'll get into the main question.
UM's Executive Board has begun the pilot phase for the implementation of the Human Rights Due Diligence Framework. This framework allows the university to assess whether and to what extent established academic partnerships are involved in human rights violations. These internationally recognized crimes include aggression, war crimes, crimes against humanity, and genocide. Partnerships with institutions in areas of conflict won't be compromised for individual academics or research initiatives. For the majority of students, however, the implementation of this framework means the discontinuation of certain partnerships, including exchange opportunities and large-scale academic collaboration, such as UFE. Although students are those most affected, they have little say in the assessments of human rights violations. Currently, no students are present in the responsible committee. If this strikes you as unfair, you can use the weight of your vote to change that and make sure that your representative pushes it forward.
Okay, this is a question to you all. So how does your party view the HRDD framework? Do you think its implementation has been a wise step? Yes or no? Bram, you have 1 minute.
Yes, thank you so much. So these frameworks set out the criteria and procedures that will be used to assess UM's external partnerships, and they will determine. We also have a similar one for the transition to a fossil-free society, which for anyone on the council, it was a double vote. And in that, when it came to us, we got to vote on it, and we gave an advice that it should be, you should be really diligent with the human rights due diligence, because it's a topic that is quite controversial. And there's a committee that will examine everything that happens when this controversy sparks up. As a party, I would say we right now are in a pilot phase. I think for youth it won't be a problem because the universities associated are not in countries that will be affected by this human rights due diligence framework, but we'll see. Yeah.
Matthew, you have 1 minute.
I'm going to give the Novum party line. So Novum stands for courageous leadership. And when there is a credible risk that a partner institution enables gross human rights violations, Maastricht University must first press pause on the relationship and only then investigate. Our students deserve role models who act on principle, not after the fact. And thus, we think that we're not doing enough. We think that we should have frozen first and then conducted the due diligence.
Just Mathieu, please do not speak as close to the microphone.
No, that's okay, no worries.
Kara, you have 1 minute.
Perfect. So there are actually 3 tools that are going to be in place quite soon. It's going to be a pilot phase. So we are really looking what's going to happen and how they're going to put in place. But I really like the idea that those 3 tools are kind of checklists for everyone to know whether their research is harmful or whether this brings us to the goals that wants to reach quite soon.
Thank you. And finally, Robin.
I think that it's great that there is a framework so that we can all understand what they are doing, and like that we can think about it, and when they maybe are just open, we can think and say what we think also. And like in this instance, it's mostly about Israel right now for that case, but also some other countries. I see Bram making a face, but it's mostly about that. But it's very important to be careful about it, but also that is open and does not just decide something. And for the rest, I don't have to say anything other than I stand for peace.
Thank you. We will now open the floor for discussion. Bram, you would like to react to?
Yeah, I'll just use this time to finish my argument because I didn't check the time last time. What I wanted to say is that as a council we have adopted it with the advice we presented. We're now in a pilot phase. Let's see in a year what this does, how it actually implements. And that's something that if you elect us, we get to see and we'll bring to you the final thing on what this is, if it's a good thing or not. Right now we're testing. So I believe it's good that it's there, but let's see what it actually does.
Okay. Do any of you want to react to another candidate? Yes.
Yeah, I'll just go on as Bram said. This is not a pilot phase, so the actual work is going to begin right now, and I'm ready to take part in it and to help those tools develop their full potential and also do what they actually promise and what they're made for.
Okay, now we have a question for you, Mathieu. As your party has public statements made to the university regarding accountability and compliance with partners in areas of conflict, how do you continue to represent the overall concerns of the university body, of the student body, sorry?
Could you rephrase the question?
How do you regard to the question of accountability and compliance with partners in areas of conflict? And how do you want to, as a party, continue to represent the student body?
Yeah, I think that's a great question because you want to really check the pulse of the larger student community in order to see whether a majority demands what we believe is the morally right thing to do. And I think that's the power of a large party like Novum, where we have like 60, 70, 80 active members and possibly council members who can reach out and really check the pulse of our constituents. So I think there's a real role to make sure that we're speaking in the name of many people and not just a small amount.
Okay, thank you. Kara, we have a question for you. how do you then view the actions of abstaining from votes regarding the framework as harnessed by your party in the past? Because you have been not voting on this framework.
I think this is a super sensitive topic, but Maastricht University should be a leading example in upholding human rights and ensuring equal treatment for all individuals, regardless of background, identity, or whatsoever. So I think this is not a matter on whether we stand for human rights or I don't know, but this is how these tools are going to be done. And at this point, they weren't worked through well enough for our party to vote yes on that.
A question for Robin. Where do you think the university priority should be with the international and domestic partner universities and institutions?
Sorry, can you rephrase it again? I don't understand what you're asking.
So, concerning the human rights due diligence framework, how do you think the university should prioritize their relations with other national universities or on the international framework?
Now, there are some people, for example, say that there is freedom and that we need to be careful about what we're banning, but I don't agree with that, and I do think that's important, like Novum just said, when there are people that want to ban something and want to freeze it, that we do that. And I hope that's a bit clearer, like that I think that's important to do what we as students want and our society.
Yes. Yes.
I'd also like to share some news that was published today at 3 p.m. Oh, sorry. Tilburg University just suspended ties with 2 institutions that within their own human rights due diligence framework. And this is also after university, the Vrije University Amsterdam, I think. University of Amsterdam did suspend some partnerships as well. So right now, Maastricht University is late compared to its national peers on making the morally right thing to do. And we really think that it has to happen fast now. We want to have some bulletproof evidence that allows us to make a decision. So we want to make haste.
Thank you. And now a question for you all. How will you ensure within the University Council that student voices are heard when they are so fragmented? Yes?
Well, this is a topic that came to the University Council this year. It will come back next year. And next year, we as students, the students that will be elected, they all have their chance to voice their opinions on it. And everyone, this University Council is open to join. There is a speaker squatter there, which some people have already used. So if you really want to voice your opinion as a student, please use it. It's your chance to speak to the council, to the executive board.
On behalf of your party and not the University Council.
Yeah, I know. But as a party, I believe in the procedures that are there. And as a party, we don't have a really big stance on this. We think that what happened and what we voted on is a good thing, and we're glad it's there.
Okay. Yes, Kara?
I totally see the potential of the University Council to have more voices heard in this, especially from the student body. So there needs to be more cooperation needs to be done, as you asked. So I feel like with open talks or panels, this can be ensured, and this should be ensured in the next year.
Okay, thank you. Do any of you want to react to the question? Mathieu? Robin? And I would also like to ask you a final question that has been addressed kind of already, but why should students care about the implementation of this framework?
Or not, also.
Or not care, yeah.
They should care, because a university that teaches human rights must practice human rights, and they must do it fast, not just wait until everyone is doing it and follow, so yeah.
Yes, Chiara?
So I don't know, guys, do you know the TikTok trend when it's like, oh, politics, and then it's like, I don't care about that, and then in the end it's like, but what do you care about? Like, that's exactly what this is. Students at Maastricht University should care about politics in general, and especially about human rights and how our research is going to be checked with those tools, because this will affect us all.
Okay, thank you. Do any of you have any final comments on this? Yes, Robin?
No, that they can do things more open and faster. I think that's good for all of us.
And how would you plan on doing things more openly and faster?
Now, for example, by this framework and making sure that it's implemented and that they do something and that they do dare to just be someone that does something instead of waiting. And I think that we can all agree that that's important to do something.
Okay. Thank you very much. We will now close this discussion and move on to our final topic, which is the student associations.
So as Celia said, it's now time to discuss the final content topic, which is the suspension of funding for different student associations by Maastricht University, and what the future of these organizations will be in regards to their relationship to We're going to look at a video again, and then we dive into it. So let's watch.
Student associations are a vital part of student life at To support their contribution to the student community, eligible organizations receive a structural annual grant to fund their activities, but support comes with one condition: full compliance with the code of conduct and values of the university. The associations, for the most part, are independent and responsible for their own actions. But what happens when they cross the line? Recent decisions to cut financial ties with certain organizations due to repeated violations of a code of conduct established 2 years ago raised urgent questions about accountability, enforcement, and future of the relationship between and student associations. So how should the UC handle the tension between supporting student-led initiatives and holding them to shared standards?
So recently, has decided to cut all financial ties with certain student associations until further notice. It is also openly questioning how it wishes to, in the future, carry on the relationships with these student associations. So what's your party's stance on this? You have 1 minute again to explain your answer. We're going to start with Mathieu. Go ahead.
There's so much to unpack in this, but I think the first thing to say is the do no harm principle, where a student association cannot put its members' psychological or physical health at risk. And so the moment that this happens, the university should cut all ties. There's absolutely no doubt about it. Now, we haven't been briefed on the exact details that led the university to basically cut the ties after a 3-year warning. Nonetheless, I think that we're talking about mostly Dutch social associations, and these have a lot of value. In a university where 59% of the students are international, the Dutch students do have the right to have a place to enjoy their own culture without necessarily having to cross a million different cultural bridges. And so, in so much as possible, I think these student associations should have a right to operate, but the university shouldn't sponsor their board months, for example, if they're putting their members at risk.
Thank you. Then we go to Chiara. Please present your party's stance on this.
Thank you. So Maastricht lives from student associations, which is great. And I think we all should respect the traditions and the culture, though the fun stops as soon as people get hurt and sexual and social safety is not guaranteed anymore. This is also the stand of my party. So student associations are welcomed and then they should operate, but uni should not put money into stuff that is not safe for their own students.
Thank you very much, Chiara. Robin, you have the floor to answer the question.
I want to say that it's not Dutch culture to cross lines to make sure. I think that the Dutch culture is very beautiful, and that's all about being together. And there are so much people, and I don't think that those few organizations that we're speaking about do represent the Dutch community. So that's completely wrong. And I think that's good that UM does have standards and that it should not support organizations of people that do harm to others.
Thank you very much, Robin. Just to get quickly back to Mathieu's answer, I know it's a small difference, but we like to have everything correct in this debate. It's actually 61% of students of UM that are international, not 59. Then we move on to we're trying to keep it fair, guys. We're moving on to the next answer, which is from Bram. Go ahead.
Yes. So student associations are the backbone of a UM community. There are so many different student associations, large, small, different topics, more on the partying side, more on the political side, and it's really nice that they're there. And as long as we have students, we will have student associations. Currently, what happened to me is bad because, first of all, we don't know what happened. The only thing we know is that there is a breach of the code of conduct, and they haven't said anything from it. So that means we can't learn. We think they should be more open, so this is a case we can learn from. Also, we believe that if you if you break all contact, there's no point of managing anymore. That means they're now their own entity. They're still students of UM, but we have no way to get in touch with them and say, these are our values, and we want to help you and be in contact with you.
Thank you very much. We'll now open the floor to the candidates. If you want, you're free to respond. Robin, go ahead.
I do agree with Bram that openness is very important, but when they do things that are not good, I think that it's better to cut ties. And are you proposing that whatever people do, that we have to somehow influence them and hope that something will happen when it doesn't? Is that what we need to do?
Go ahead.
I believe that if you want these things not to happen anymore, just saying we breach everything and now you're your separate entity and we have no ties anymore, you don't have to follow any code of conduct because we don't have ties, is not a good thing. We want to ensure psychological safety. We want to ensure social safety. We cannot do that if we say, well, you don't get any money anymore and we cut our ties. So instead of doing this, we should open a dialogue, and if you want to sanction them because they breach a code of conduct, that's fine. But keep these discussions open, because right now it's not so much money that they can't live anymore and they can't keep doing what they're doing, because that's just not true. So if we want to ensure psychological safety, this is the worst thing you can do, to completely cut ties, because right now you don't have any influence anymore and they don't have to follow our code of conduct. So what stops them from having no psychological safety?
Thank you, Bram. Just so everyone knows, the university did actually, in its statement, address the specific cases which made for these ties to be suspended, which is that there were cases of fainting and exhaustion and panic attacks during different activities, and these incidents were not reported to the university, and this was the main reason for the university to suspend its ties. Now, Mathieu, also you wanted to respond. So go ahead, you have the floor.
I met with the Student Initiative Help Desk a few days ago, and for those who don't know what that is, it's the people you talk to when you want to start your own student association. And it appeared that if you want to benefit from board months and subsidies by Maastricht University, you have to be open to everyone. And I question that these some student associations are exclusive at the general member category. And at the same time, I want Maastricht University to have leverage to make sure that they can protect the interests of those student members. However, if I can't start a student association that is selective, then I question whether we should be subsidizing those that are selective and historically implanted in the university.
In the context of this bigger debate, by selective, are you also referring to language, or is it specifically about different selection criteria? Could you specify?
When you have to apply and be selected by current members to enter.
Okay. Any further comment on that, or that's where you want to leave it at? Okay. Any candidate wants to respond? Chiara, go ahead.
So, first of all, my apologies. I would have never said that fraternities or sororities or special student associations are the Dutch culture. I am aware of that. Though I think that especially for hazing, there should be rules which are not there now. And those agreements should be made in meetings with those associations together.
Bram, you wanted to respond.
There are rules for hazing, because every fraternity or association that does hazing, There's also a code of conduct for there. They have to send all their documentation on what they do, and it gets checked by the university. So it's already there, and if this gets breached, you have the sanctions. And that's also what happened, well, probably what happened here, because fainting and it's a very vague. So I believe let's learn from it. And well, I'm not currently in one of the organizations we're talking about. I know people from other parties are, so it's a shame to not hear their perspective tonight. But I believe that code of conducts are important, and we should work together to make sure that everyone can enjoy student life in a safe way.
Thank you very much, Bram. Any candidate cares to respond? Robin, go ahead.
When someone does break the rules, when something does happen once, twice, 3 times, do you agree that at some point you have to say that it is over?
I say sanction them, but be sure to don't cut ties, because then it's over, and then you create your own entity which will live without funding. We will live without being at the income or being on the website. So you have a student association that lives as a beast, or as a beast of its own. If you want to ensure social safety, keep the ties there. I don't say don't sanction them, because if you make mistakes and you breach the code of conduct, then you should be sanctioned for that. But let's think of it differently than we do right now, and let's keep these talks open in the University Council and outside of that, because I think we all agree that psychological and social safety are very important to us.
Would you have a specific suggestion on how these organizations should be sanctioned instead of cutting ties with them?
Well, I think that cutting the money, that's a good thing, because that's where the code of conduct is for. But then having them make plans on how they will do better, and making sure that they come with changes to the university. Because then you don't cut the ties, but you make them improve and say, okay, this is how you need to improve, and manage this, and don't cut ties completely.
And how would that be different from the code of conduct that was established 2 years ago? Could you elaborate?
Because the code of conduct is there mostly as a paper that you check once a year, is what we are doing right, and then most of the time you don't hear too much from it, unless someone makes someone of the associations tells the SSC or the university this happened and it's a breach of code of conduct. This is not a good relationship, saying you have to do this, and if you don't hear it, it's good, and if we hear something, it's bad, and you're breaching the code of conduct, and we cut ties. That's not a relationship, that's a law and a court.
Thank you very much. Chiara, you also emphasized the fact that there should be a clear code of conduct and these should be safe spaces. What would you place emphasis on? Bram has presented his policies. There's limited enforcement mechanisms, and so what would you suggest to make these a safer space, these associations?
Okay, first of all, thanks for correcting me on that. Yeah, I feel like those rules and the code of conduct are stuff that's great that we already have, but they need to be changed or put more in public so that everyone knows, and everyone who attends those stuff knows about those rules, which will make it a lot easier for them to be enforced. Also, the idea of sanctions is not bad, but all the sanctions that UM can do is cut the budget or cut them off. And as they already cut the budget, there's not a lot more that they can do at this point,
Thank you very much.
budgetary-wise.
Then, yes, go ahead, Robin.
I also want to say that 9 out of 10 students are gone within 5 years out of the Netherlands. I'm talking about international students. And you can look it up. It's 31 March from Nuffic. It's 11.6%. So maybe you can say, Robin, you're 1.6% off, but I would say that it's almost 9 out of 10. So to have that straight. And I also see people that want to, that don't see their Dutch language. For example, Bram, is member from Oranos, and they are only speaking English, and also this debate is in English. And I think that's also something to think about, because we are not in England, we are in the Netherlands. And when you look outside and we would ask people, what do you speak? They would say, we speak Dutch.
Just to keep the focus of the debate very clear, we're currently talking about the student associations, and we're going to keep on talking that. We can get back to this topic in the next round. Mathieu, we have a question for you. What role do you believe, in this context, the university should play in student life outside of the classroom? Because you were very firm in your answer that the university should create big consequences for these parties. Go ahead.
I think the university has a role of resource allocation, and that's in the form of board months. Board months allow people to take up extra time to serve their community by organizing things for any type of association they want, as long as it's legal. And yeah, the university can decide where the students benefit most. And if the university decides that some fraternities, fraternity-oriented associations are really serving the student community, then I defend that right for them to benefit from them. On the other hand, I know that there are some study associations. Those are the people who help you have a great time in your program. Some study associations are really underfunded, and I think that they could benefit from some more board months, just because the ratio between the hours they put in and what they're recognized to be putting in is just like not acceptable. Same thing for everything green team related. I think the green teams for the moment operate for free, and in order to meet our ambitious 2030 sustainability objectives, we really need to create incentives, and that also comes in form of recognition for good work through compensation.
Thank you all very much for your contributions. We'll now move on to the final section of the debate, which concerns open questions from the public. Just before that, to clarify to the public, the university has put consequences on these different parties before multiple times, actually in 2017, then autumn 2022, and then for the third time in 2025, which is why the decision to cut the ties was eventually taken. Now we'll move on to the next topic, and I'll give the floor to Celia.
Okay, so for this part of the discussion, anyone seated on the ground floor is more than welcome to ask any question. Just raise your hand, and any of us moderators will point at you, and the mic will be brought to you. However, there will be 3 minutes to think about your questions, while each candidate has about 45 seconds to talk about a point that they deem important that might have not been addressed in today's debate. Chiara, you have the floor.
Thank you. So another thing that Khan Party and I will really want to advocate for at University Council will be a platform. I know that UniLife does exist, but there needs to be an other student portal, also for all associations, especially also for small associations, to put in the information so that students that, for example, in the first week, introduction week, thousands of associations come to you and, oh yeah, take part of us, come to us, have fun with us. And it's just way too much. There needs to be one place where every association can put in what their next events are, what we can do, what they stand for, who can join. And I think that with that, UniLife in Maastricht will be a lot easier and more accessible for a lot of students.
Thank you very much. Robin?
Yeah, so like I said many times, we are in the Netherlands, and I would like to still hear that you are completely wrong. And I went to the University Council, and also our boss, Rianne, she didn't want to hear it because it did pain in her ears. But it's strange that they only do something when the government moves. But I say a school should be there for the people. And if we as people really want to do something, we need to make sure that at least first, as a national level, we do something. Otherwise, internationalism is meaningless if there is not a society of people. So we need to have that vision and really think.
Bram?
Yes, so I use this time to quickly tell you our election program. So if you want cheaper and better food, you want a more transparent university, on-campus student portal, and on other topics. You want student involvement, you want better communication, and you want students being involved on big decisions on a more intensive level, then vote for a party who has experienced people on their list, and that will actually do what they say they do. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bram. Mathieu?
Those who know me know that I've had a few lives before this one, and one of my lives was studying in Canada at McGill University, in which we had a very large building that was student-owned and student-managed for student associations, for student parties, etc. I want to sell you on this big dream for Maastricht University. The city is running out of real estate, but there's still a chance that we can convince the administration to lock in a full building that's only for students, and that is managed by student executives, and that's my tangible dream. And it probably won't happen within a year or two, but it's by pushing for projects that only come to fruition many years after you've been at the council that you manage.
Thank you. So thank you for all presenting your additional points. We will now open the floor, so anyone who has a question to ask may raise their hand. Please mention if you are talking to a specific candidate or to the panel as a whole. We will point out to you. Yeah, you.
Okay, I have a question for Mathieu and Robin. So first of all, I wanted to start with you, Mathieu. From what I understood, you were part of the Can party before. So I wanted to understand why the change and to better understand you as a candidate. Then I had a question for you, Robin. I wanted to come back to a question that Bram asked you before that I felt you kind of dodged. How would you actually factually have the switch from English to Dutch? Because as he pointed out, this could mean a lot of people losing their job, a lot of potential being lost from the university. So how would you mitigate these factors, for example, to avoid a massive layoff of tutors?
For purpose of time, please keep to one question, and the question's relatively short. But Mathieu, if you can answer the question.
I had a fantastic time when I was with Khan last year, and I have nothing but respect for who they are and what they do and what type of force they bring to Maastricht University's political arena. I switched, I guess, because throughout the year you start working with a lot of people. The moment you're elected, you become a team most of the time. And I just identified a lot of people that I had a lot of alignment with. Nonetheless, I still would defend Khan's ability to run in elections in the future, just because I think their grassroots perspective really brings a different type of energy.
Thank you, Mathieu. Robin, would you answer the question?
I think that it is possible to do something, and I think the other parties, they have no eye for the Netherlands, but I say I'm optimistic, and then you really want to do something that is possible. And maybe it will take time to change something, but for example, geneeskunde, it's health, it was only in English, and they just get rid of it. And they can make decisions to invest in new Dutch courses. For example, in Heerlen, there will be maybe a new place. And when there is something new, they can really think about doing that new thing.
Thank you very much for the response. Any other question? Yes, in the back.
Hello. Oh la la. You were talking about the human rights due diligence framework. You were talking about the pilot that could be put in place next year. There's over 60,000 people that have been killed by Israel, and this university, Maastricht University, has direct investment and ties with institutions in Israel and in the occupied territories. So I wanted to ask you, do you want to just see this framework that's going to just drop in the water like all the others, or are you going to put some pressure in the university? How are you going to do that? And then also about the associations, different associations that also defend Palestinians' rights have not been allowed to book rooms and take spaces, which is something that the university is supposed to give to every association. So I also want to ask if you have any answer to that. Thank you.
Before answering this question, we would just like to be clear that the UC as a council does not decide directly whether or not the university cut ties with partner universities involved in the gross human rights violations, since they just implement the policy as in practice, in policy, and then there's a committee and it's up to the executive board. But if any of the candidates would like to reply to this question, you're more than welcome to.
So yeah, there's basically two questions here. So I'll reflect first on the second question, because I think that's an easier answer. I do not know about this. Please tell me or tell other people, and we'll have a look at it and we'll bring it to the council, because student associations should be able to book rooms. So that's a good thing to hear, and we'll take it on. Second, the human rights due diligence program or framework. It is something that is there to protect or to make sure the university doesn't do this.
Thank you, Bram. Unfortunately for time.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Do anybody else want to reply to this question?
Now, I think that is very important that he can just book a room and say what he has to say. And look, and honestly, I also do ask for why do they still have those ties, and why were they so close about it? Because it would be good to be more open about it.
I asked about the human rights tool, if somebody wants to answer me on that. I was asking on putting pressure. I know that you're not doing the choices, but putting pressure, since you're representing the students, and loads of students are pretty mad to the university.
Okay, yes?
So I think the human rights due diligence framework is supposed to get results before the end of the year. I think they're targeting early fall, and that's not soon enough. I'll admit that. I think that the university is big and slow and needs to go through a lot of due diligence, like due process, to get to their conclusions, and that's really unfortunate given the images we're seeing every day in the media. And I guess if it were a year ago, I'd tell you we want to push Maastricht University to implement a freeze first, then set yourself, say, 3 months to perform your due diligence, and then unfreeze or keep freezing on a more permanent level. Today, I think things are kind of like happening, and the only thing a university council can do is to just keep on putting pressure for that due diligence to be done as soon as possible.
Thank you very much. Let's move on to a next question.
In front here.
Thank you very much. I have a question to all of the speakers. So I believe that a UC council member should be a person that has contact with a lot of people and has an understanding of the total landscape of the university. And I would like to ask all of you, what sort of experience or what sort of associations or communities are you involved in that you think that you are a fit to become a UC council member?
Bram?
Yes, I totally agree, because for democracy it's nice that you actually represent a lot of people. So I will reflect for our party and not for me as an individual. So we have ties with a lot of study associations, and we keep growing. And we're also reaching out to the sports associations, the MUST, so that we have a good amount of people that we represent. Of course, it's not possible for us to represent everyone, and that's why it's nice to have multiple parties.
Thank you, Bram.
There.
Chiara, would you answer the question?
Yes, so I think that democracy, and especially also at the UC Council, everyone should have a voice. I am part of Khan Party, of course, and I'm a passive member in 2 other associations. But I think this is not about coming around. Of course, it's about coming around and representing as many voices as you can, but everyone should be elected on what they stand for and what they advocate for, and not on which association they signed or in which organization they attend some meetings.
Yes, Robin?
I try to listen to people and look what they really care about. For example, yesterday I was in another class with people who did another study here in the Netherlands, and they want to become lawyers or do something good. But University Maastricht does not get enough money from them, so they have a really hard time. And I really do care about it. And when I'm home, I think we have to change that. And I talk about people with that. So I think that's really important, that The university is there for the people.
Thank you very much. Can we move on to the next question? Oh, you would like to say something?
I'm too happy with all my extracurriculars not to brag about them. So I've done a lot of things, but I think there's few of them that that brought so much happiness. Being a peer mentor for the first-year computer science students at DAX was like one of the most rewarding things ever, where basically you meet a bunch of first years in their first semester once per month and make sure they get the support, resources, and information they need. And the other thing that I really loved was for 2 years I was chair of UCM's excursion committee, where we organize hikes, concerts, bike rides, museum visits, and so much more. And those things were fantastic and allowed me to branch out to many more than just my friends.
Thank you. Next question? Yes, the second row.
So I've got a question for Chiara Ring. You mentioned at the start, during your introduction, that Khan wants to make buses and trains cheaper. Now, I'll be frank, I'm a member of the University Council for Novum, so obviously I'm a bit biased, just to put that out there. But as a member of the University Council, I know that that goes way beyond our mandate. We don't set train fares. How do you justify having that on your program?
I justify that in the sense of that UC represents the students and that we should work on stuff like that and not just say, oh, that's out of my reach. No, it's not. The university as it is should lobby and get partners and work together. So I feel like if such a big university as Maastricht University advocates for that, there are steps that can be taken, and this is a step that has to be taken.
Thank you very much. Next question. Yes, anyone in the row, fourth row?
So we've run into a problem multiple times with these questions, that there seems to be a question of what exactly the role of the University Council is, and currently their mandate is, at least in my opinion, quite limited. Who among you basically would like to see it expanded, want to see more power for the University Council?
Whoever wants to reply. Bram?
Yeah, of course, more power would be nice, that we have more influence. However, there is a law and executive board we have to confide by. So I would totally agree. I would also like the University Council to have more power, but this is really tough to get. Maybe it's not impossible, but really tough. So we always keep pushing for more power, and I would do that too. But it's not something that I can say, that's what I'm going to do, because I can't make any promises on that.
Thank you very much. Do any of you? Yes, Robin?
It's almost not democratic, and I completely agree that it's not enough power at all. It's not good.
Yes, Matthew?
I read a lot about the history of these councils. In Dutch, it's called medezeggenschap. And basically, from the student movements in the late 60s in continental Europe, there emerged a form of like co-steering where the students and staff had equal say in managerial matters with like dean and managing director. And that changed in '97 with like a complete overhaul of the system. And what we're seeing since 2015 is a gradual creep back of the influence of the university and faculty council members. But as a faculty council member myself at FSC, I agree that it's sometimes an exercise in patience and frustration. And we'd very much like to expand our powers whilst keeping in mind that we want to be efficient.
Thank you. Any other question? Yes, the row behind the row with all the questions.
Yes, hello. I had a question for Robin, because during that debate I couldn't really find a real standpoint. So if you could maybe please provide us with 3 actionable solutions, what you really stand for, what you wish, except that we're in the Netherlands, this would be great. Thank you very much.
Robin, if you care to.
My standpoints are that in every English course that needs to be standard, a Dutch course, to learn the language. I say that that's one point. Another point is that I say that there needs to be a balance between the English and the Dutch studies. So when you have one track in English sociology. I cannot pronounce it. I would like to do it in Dutch, but I can't. I want to answer it. But to have that in Dutch and also in English, because we do need that. So that's our two. And furthermore, I think that when you really have one vision and say, we don't want 9 out of 10 people leaving, but we want to build something, that then you can also make an impact and have more openness.
Thank you. Once again, Robin, we were fact-checked on the 9 out of 10 international students leaving, and it's actually 25% stay after 5 years. Please remain seated.
You can have my phone.
Well, it's all in Dutch, so.
There's some differing sources.
They can have my phone.
Read
it's
Dutch.
on my phone. It's research, but
this is very interesting.
It's okay.
We'll move on to the questions again.
Thank you. Anyone else have a question?
Thank you. There you go.
Yes, all the way in the back.
Yeah, I was wondering, what are the party's different stances on having guest speakers at this university who might have a racist and discriminatory history? Like, is there ideas about a framework about who could be allowed to have a space at the university, especially if they have a platform built on racism?
Thank you. Chiara, would you maybe like to reply?
It's like those free tools with the checklists of the research. I think this should be extended to everyone speaking at our university and everyone who gets a space and place at our university to speak their mind, as long as they are sensitive to human rights and the other important things, they should have this place. But as soon as there is a violation, I don't think that Maastricht University should give them any extra views.
Do anyone else? Yes, Matthew? No, Matthew, you can talk.
They should absolutely not be given a place to speak at Maastricht University, and we should have robust tools, just like the human rights due diligence framework, to test whether a speaker matches our goal of having interesting, opinionated, yet speakers that stay within the realm of the values of a democratic society. So absolutely zero tolerance for any speaker who risks conveying certain risky things that go beyond our values.
Ram, would you like to reply? As a current member of the University Council?
I agree. I think freedom of speech is very important, but when something is clearly hateful or racist, this should not be able to happen. And I know this has happened in the past, and this was wrong, and this should never happen again.
Thank you. We will now move on to our next question. The long row. Anyone?
Thank you. First of all, I want to say that I am a University Council member, so I can be biased as well. During this year, there was voting for the fossil fuel policy. Novum proposed to add also companies owned by fossil fuel industries and not only fossil fuel companies, and Can abstained. What do we want? What does the party plan on doing this year? Do they still plan on not including companies owned by fossil fuel companies or not? Thank you.
I will go back to those research things, and especially the third goal for the fossil-free future. Of course, this is a big responsibility, and especially for Can, this is important. So if this comes up again, the vote should be pro a fossil-free future, as this is also a set goal for the SUM 2030.
Does anybody else want to reply to this question? Oh yes, forgot. Sorry. Next question. Anyone else in the long row?
Yeah. So Bram, you said that you think language courses should become more accessible, but we see that in the last 2 years, the price of language courses has nearly doubled to 450 euros. So does this mean that, since you are on the University Council already and you might know what's happened, does it mean the University Council failed in this, or does it mean that the University Council just doesn't have enough to say on this?
Yeah, thank you for this question. Well, I'm only currently on the University Council, so I can't say anything that happened in the past. What I say is this hasn't come up yet. We're working on it. I personally really want this to be more accessible, and this is definitely, you can expect, coming to the University Council soon.
Thank you very much. Yes?
So it's a question to all the speakers. It's about the human rights due diligence. So I was just wondering, if you had the chance to determine what a conflict is, would you just think about the countries and the countries participating in the conflict, or even countries selling weapons, or even giving them to organizations causing the wars? Because that would lead to more countries and universities.
Mathieu?
I think your question illustrates exactly why a complicated, long process supported by many professionals is important, because the ramifications of a conflict are never restricted to two countries or players, and that if you start taking action for a certain conflict or a certain area where a lot of violence is being committed, then you risk having to extend the area in which you cut ties far beyond what you initially thought. So that actually kind of shows why we have to take our time, unfortunately.
Thank you. Chiara?
Yeah, what Matthew said is completely right. Like, this is such a huge thing, and restricting on everyone so fast will just hurt the university. Though the question is in the room and it needs to be asked, and this is also why it's important that this pilot is starting now. So it's also not only about the countries, it's a lot about institutions, hospitals, and research partners, if they're cooperating with, or if they are violating human rights directly or even indirectly.
Thank you. Another question? Yes, in the middle.
So I consider there is a very serious problem, and it's a problem of democratic deficit within the university and the elections. Students don't vote. Last year, 17% of students voted for the elections, according to Observant. This is a sign of a lack of civic participation, and it is very serious. This year, FSC is holding these elections during an exam week, which will also harm the making of the participation of students. And there are good initiatives this year, from workshops to podcasts about the elections, but the effectiveness of which is yet to be seen. You, as candidates, may have a say in how we can mobilize students to vote. How would you do it?
Mathieu?
It's a chicken or the egg problem. Either once you have high quality candidates, they can push for doing cool stuff, and once they do cool stuff, people believe in it. More people want to apply for for the positions, and then you get increase in quality of the candidates, and more people are excited to vote for something that matters. The problem is where do you start? I have a controversial proposal. We take 20 extra euros in everyone's tuition per year, and if they vote, we refund those 20 euros. Basically, a model that works fantastic in many countries that have a we reimburse you if you vote, and I guarantee you we're going to get 80-85% voting rates with that.
Thank you. Will anyone else? Yes, Robin?
I don't think that we should take that too much seriously. When the system does really work, we would vote, but it does not work. And if we really want to change something, we should just stand up all and say we want maybe at least have language courses for all for free. So, and I will do my best to represent people that care about the Netherlands and think that's important to stand for culture.
Thank you, Robin. Chiara?
Generally, this is very sad that the democracy is not being that welcomed at a university like Maastricht University. I think that there needs to be a campaign, like a big campaign from the University Council during the year already, to get people to know what the University Council actually does, and that is working. And as we said before, or as I said before, that there needs to be more cooperation within the students. So through panels and open talks, this is something that should be ensured and should be ensured more. And with that, I hope that the numbers will rise in the future. But I doubt that this is something where we should reward people with money, because sorry.
Thank you. We are going to move on to, we have about 3 minutes left, so 2 final questions. Yes, in the middle there.
I have a question for all candidates about the internalization problem. In the last 3 years, I've seen a lot of polarization between the Dutch and the international students, and it's like ever more growing. There seems to be a real divide between both camps, and I haven't really heard any like concrete plans to try to bring us all like more together, and to like get us to mix a little bit more. And I was wondering if anyone has any solutions to that problem.
Matthew?
I think there's a divide that starts at income, where there's a clear wall that's put, like, just thrusted in between the international students and the Dutch students, and they end up in student associations which really don't overlap. And I think having associations which make a conscious effort to integrate and make it exciting for both internationals and Dutch students is amazing. And I joined Dutch Mountains, which is the cycling association, and it's about like 70% Dutch, 30% internationals. And I've never made more Dutch friends in my life than there, and that's a great example. We just have to create them and take that initiative. It takes more energy, but it pays off.
Thank you. Yes, Pram?
Yes, I think it's really important, and I think change starts with yourself. That's why on our list we have a lot of international students as well as Dutch students. And I think that we should encourage student associations and things from the UM to be accessible to everyone, and not be it just in Dutch or just for international students, so that you can attract both, because this interaction needs to happen, and that's the funding for this integration between Dutch and international students.
Thank you. And finally, Robin?
Right now, it's very difficult to have a Dutch language course, and to integrate, that's a real problem right now. So I think that it would help if everyone could speak Dutch, or could have that opportunity. And I think that's the way to connect. And it's also about realizing that we're all human, we're all the same, we're all one.
Thank you. Yes, Kara?
So there is a real Dutch course that people can attend. It's called Social Dutch. I think that this is something that people need to do because they want to. And I like the association thing with people joining associations and having associations together is the best way to start that. I also really like the language cafes. I don't know if you know them, but it's great for people to interact with different languages within each other. And more of those opportunities should be created and made for all of us to be in exchange.
Thank you very much. This will be our final question for whoever. Yes, over there.
Hi, so thank you for this great debate. As a Dutch student with an international student party being Novum, I understand as no other the importance of building bridges and building connections. In the case all of you hopefully get elected for the student council, how do you aim to establish collaboration within the council and then work together, taking the points you've all brought here today?
Yes, Bram?
Yeah, so it is really important to collaborate as students within the council, because we can all have different opinions, but one voice is way weaker than a voice of all the students within the council. This is something I believe we do very well this year, and I want this to keep happening by having meetings for students before the actual meetings, which we already do, and keep this going. And also just make sure that we get in touch as students early and keep doing this, and have some activities outside of the council, because when we're united, we are at the strongest, and I think that's something that's wonderful.
Thank you, Bram. Will anyone, this is your final point, so yes, Kara?
As Bram said, I think, Matthew, you also said this before, that as soon as you're elected, you're a team. And I think this is something that I'm really big on, and I hope that my colleagues here are too, as I've heard so far they are. Yeah, our voices are heard better if we are a team, and as we cooperate as students and have one big front. And I think this is great. And this is how this should also be happening this year again at the University Council.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your questions. We will now close the open questions.
Thank you, Celia, and thank you all to those in the audience who asked questions. We really appreciate you contributing to this debate, as it's very important for you and your next years at UM as well. The candidates will now all have 1 minute to present their closing statement, in which they can address the final things they want you to know before you start voting. We will start with Robin. You have 1 minute to present your final statement.
So, as you all might have been known, there was one number that it was all about, but I won't get into that again. But I think it's important to realize that we are the Netherlands, and we all are here at now. And I think that it's important to see that and that we can work together. And also I want to voice people who might not be here, who might have clicked the debate off because they thought van, I don't want to hear it in English, but at the end we have to make sure that we have our voices heard and a vision. And with that, I also think that the UM can get rid of things that don't serve us. For example, the eating ban. So we need to really be one and have a vision. Only that way we can really build something.
Thank you very much, Rob.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bram, you are next. Present your closing statement, please.
Yeah, thank you very much. And thank you all for coming. Seeing this many people come to a democratic debate about university politics is wonderful. And to hear your questions, and this is really nice. And together we work on decreasing this democratic deficit. I believe it's nice to keep working together and as party to be there, collaborate more, work together with more people, and to not repeat myself. Have more transparency, cheaper food, and people that actually do what they say and don't promise empty things.
Thank you very much, Bram. Mathieu, your turn. You have 1 minute.
Yeah, it's really nice. I don't know if you know where we're coming from, but like 10 years ago at Maastricht University, we didn't have enough candidates for the faculty lists every year. So basically, people had to be forced and convinced to run, which meant completely uncompetitive elections for the most part. Today, this almost full room is the proof that people care, and what we want to really achieve together, us by our results if we're elected, and you by your word of mouth, you communicating with us, everyone becoming more politically activated, we can make this into a bigger and bigger and more meaningful thing. And given the state of the world today, receding democracy all throughout the world, you can tell by my accent where I'm from, and I'm also scared about that. I think the defense of democracy happens at every level, including at the university, and let's make it alive for us here at UM.
Thank you very much, Mathieu. We'll now go to the final closing statement by Chiara.
Thank you all very much for coming today. It was a pleasure to be here. Also thanks to the Diplomat for making this panel happen again. Yeah, I think that we talked a lot of really important topics today, but there is a lot more. So I would be really happy for you guys to reach out to me or to Khan Party in the election week. I think, as you can see, there's a very trustworthy candidates here, and I'm also here to say once again that I would be happy if your trust lays with me and if we can push for a better future all together. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kia. And with that, we're now closing the debate. We would like to thank you all for coming here today. Those on the live stream that are watching, also thank you for watching. The University Council is a very, very important branch of the university, and it affects our everyday lives. It's therefore important that you go out and vote, and that's what we have tried to show you today, all together with the candidates. The votings will open from the 19th of May to the 22nd of May onwards.
We would like to thank their candidates and the parties for attending and engaging in this interesting discussion, as well as Maastricht University and OM for making this happen.
And finally, we want to thank the Maastricht Diplomat, which is a student-led journal, our student-led journal, which took on the task of crafting this entire debate. Specifically, we want to thank the audiovisual team, and then specifically, again, Finn and Raquel for all their efforts they put in. And then finally, we want a moment of attention for Vani, who was the coordinator for this debate.
Thank you.
Big applause. And worked very hard to make this happen. Thank you all.
Thank you all for attending.